So as rescue efforts intensify to find missing people in KwaZulu-Natal, the General Industries Workers Union of South Africa is blaming government and carbon polluters for causing the climate crisis. GIWUSA is demanding answers from the authorities whom they feel failed to climate-proof the country, rather. Let's speak to GIWUSA President Mametlwe Sebei. Thank you very much for availing yourself this evening. So you are looking for answers from government and you feel they failed to climate-proof KwaZulu-Natal. What are some of the questions you're asking yourself in light of this disaster?
Yes, I mean, for us, it is really very simple. Firstly, we know that climate calamity, it is here with us. And also the fact that South Africa is one of the biggest culprits because of its over-reliance on fossil fuel for both electricity generation, but also, due to coal to oil, technology of Sasol. Now, we have been saying for some time that there is a need for a rapid just transition to renewables. So that's the first thing. Secondly, is the fact that Durban is not being hit by this disaster for the first time. There was, a flood in 2017. There was another in 2019 when about 168 millimeter of rain fell in one day, killing about 64 people in that city. Now the question is, what has happened? Why is it that even with experience of 2017, 2019, we have not been able to put infrastructure in place, both in terms of ensuring that there is a decent housing for people in that city, but also in terms of ensuring that there is a storm drainage system as well as emergency services to respond. If there was enough helicopters, we believe that number of people could have been saved, number of those lives that were lost unnecessarily could have been saved, and we do think that there has to be accountability for that.
Durban, though, as a municipality, have the climate action report, which is touted to be the first in Africa by any city. This still does not satisfy you?
Yes, I mean, for me, the fact that they've been receiving all of these awards, it just goes to show how meaningless and useless these awards are. Because if today we have hundreds of innocent lives that were lost over something that, science has been warning us is going to be more recurrent, that is the floods and other natural disasters. And this city, particular Durban, was hit twice in more than, in less than a period of about 6 years. How did we, in 2022, after 2017, after 2019, but also other disasters that have hit that city, we are not prepared, and it is clear from the response from government, both in terms of the relief, but also in terms of emergency services, that they are less prepared than ever.
You speak of a lack of conscious and caring mayors, if you will. What then would you, as GIWUSA, would have liked to see happen?
I mean, the fact that the ANC Executive Conference just re-elected as a chairperson somebody who, has been charged with over 2,000 counts of fraud and corruption. And this in a city which we know has suffered, misappropriation of funds that are meant for housing that would have protected people in the city, in the context of torrential rains that have flooded the city and, of course, destroyed much of the infrastructure. Money that would have went into building the storm drainage system, money that would have made sure that there is capacity in the state. But more than that, we also employ, many workers in public works program that will make sure that we are better prepared to respond as a city, as a country, when these disasters are happening. Because the reality is, climate change is here. It's not a music of the future. It is a reality and calamity already for many working class communities across the country. And of course, this is, as I said in the beginning, that at a strategic level, it is how, as a country, do we begin to make a transition to renewable energy sources, for which there's plenty. I mean, this is a country which has abundance of solar and wind power that we need to leverage, along with the raw materials in the PGMs that forms an input in the development of green renewable energy sources, that we can be able to ensure that we can be able to mobilize to ensure that we power our electricity, but also we supply, much of our transportation system with, the fuels that it requires, that is clean and, of course, sustainable in a way. But more than that, as I've said, there is also a need just to build capacity, both in terms of construction and engineering capacity in the state that will make sure that we build the necessary public infrastructure in terms of housing, in terms of roads, and other things that will make sure that when this kind of crisis, when this kind of calamities happen, the cities and of course the whole of the country is better placed to respond.
You speak of building capacity and you bemoan what you have termed a vanity project like the 4.3 billion rand Moses Mabhida Stadium. You believe that money could be redirected?
Yes, I mean, one of the things that is particularly scandalous is the wasteful nature, of the political elite, particularly in Durban, which has been rocked by scandals of corruption after another. But more than that, a lot of vanity projects where you can see that the whole strategy of building the city and its economy is around, tourism, but also, hosting events that add absolutely nothing for building a sustainable economy, but also infrastructure, including public housing, for a lot of ordinary working class people who remain vulnerable and exposed to floods and other natural disasters that are going to be more recurrent and are going to be more intense, as of course the crisis of climate change deepens.
Mametlwe Sebei, GIWUSA president, joining us from Ranch Habeleng in Limpopo. Thank you for availing yourself this evening.